Good evening and welcome to Mitv Primetime News. I am Chimoke Michaels. Vice President Kashim Shettima has led a federal government delegation to Kayama local government area of Kwara State to commiserate with victims of recent terrorist attacks in Nuku and Woro communities. During the visit, the Vice President assured residents that President Bola Tinubu is committed to restoring peace and security in the area, with a battalion of the Nigerian Army already deployed to Kayama. It is disclosed that the President has also directed the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, to mobilize resources in collaboration with the Kwara State Emergency Management Agency to provide relief and support to affected communities. Vice President Shettima conveyed the President's condolences to families of those killed, describing the attack as tragic and shocking, and reaffirmed that all necessary measures have been taken to prevent further violence. Kwara State Governor Abdurrahman Abdurrazak, however, commended the swift response of the federal government, confirming that security operations are ongoing with troops, senior police officers, and emergency officials already on ground. Borno State Governor and Chairman of the Northeast Governors Forum, Babagana Umaru Zulum, offered prayers and condolences on behalf of the forum, while traditional and local leaders in Kayama expressed gratitude to the President and Vice President for the prompt security intervention. The federal government reaffirmed that efforts will continue until lasting peace and normalcy are fully restored in the affected communities.
The Operation Savannah Shield is in motion. As you can see, you are welcome at the airport this morning by the General Officer Commanding 2nd Division of the Nigerian Army. The DIG is on ground. We welcome him as well. So we do truly appreciate the response of the federal government. Representatives of NEMA have been on ground since the incident happened. Initially, they were not able to go to the epicenter, but with added security, we appreciate also the quick response of NEMA. All said, we'll continue to pray for better situation, better security in Nigeria. Those committing these acts, evil acts, to stop, basically. One is short of words and what to say, but we'll continue to just continue to pray and to support our president, our vice president, our leadership, and for God to guide them in the affairs of this nation. Once again, Excellency, sir, welcome you to Kwara and appreciate this visit, sir. Thank you.
Rahman Rahim. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين اللهم اغفر له وارحمه وعافيه واعف عنه وأكرم نزلهم ووسع مدخلهم واغسله بالماء والثلج والبرد. On behalf of the governors of the northeastern state of Nigeria, I want to convey our deepest appreciation to His Excellency, the Governor of Kwara State, His Royal Highness, the Emir of Kayama, and indeed the entire Kayama community for what has happened a few days ago that has claimed the lives of several people. As Muslims, we believe in destiny, and it is our sincere hope that, inshallah, this act will not happen again. Our prayers are with you.
For quick response on the tragedy that happened to us in Kayama, Your Excellency, we thank you for giving us a battalion in Kayama. Your Excellency, we want you to thank the Executive Governor of Kwara State, whom, when he heard the incident happened, He slept in that village. He left Waro the following day. Your Excellency, there's nothing people of Kayama will have to say than to thank you very much for coming. In actual sense, when the tragedy happened, the corpse we recorded and we give them befitting burial. Although after then, we are still discovering corpses in the course of the assignment of the military officers, the security agencies, the GOC Kwara 22 Battalion. Since the incident happened, I think it is this month that happened. He has been with us, and as we speak, we have nothing less than 200 soldiers now that are located in that environment. The CP too has done holistically well to make sure security is beefed up in our communities. Thank you, Mr. Vice President.
We've seen a lot of is concern on us. The security personnel, everything has been there. The governor has been there and slept with us. The brigade commander and the USC, we really appreciate it. The thing really touched on all of us here. Where you have massacre on the scene with more than 100 people, it's not a nice thing to say. We really appreciate His Excellency for giving us time for really concern, and the President for taking action, especially for promising to serving a battalion there. Once again, we appreciate it again. We wish the Vice President journey masses, and we pray that this type of accident will not happen anywhere in Nigeria again. We pray to Allah will continue to guide all of us. Once again, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, to commiserate with you and the good people of Kayama and Kwara State by extension over the tragedy that befell our communities of Woro and Nuku in the evening of Tuesday, February 3rd, 2026. That tragic killing had shocked Nigerians because the victims were peaceful members of communities that were dedicated to building their peaceful livelihoods, while they practiced their religions in the peaceful and harmonious manner that the injunctions of Islam has instructed. The Kayama and Baruten and even the Batonu speaking parts of Old Borgo that spreads into Niger and Kebbi State and even overlaps into the neighboring Benin Republic have been known for practicing the most tolerant form of Islam for centuries, until an alien religious belief, alien to our history, alien to our tradition, invaded those communities. Please accept our heartfelt condolences on behalf of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. A battalion of the Nigerian Army has been deployed to Kayama, and all hands are on deck to ensure that peace and tranquility is restored back to those communities.
Vice President Kashim Shettima has praised Imo State's contributions to Nigeria's political, intellectual, and economic development as the state marked its Golden Jubilee anniversary. Speaking at the 50th anniversary celebration of Imo State's creation, the Vice President conveyed President Bola Tinubu's goodwill and assured the state of continued federal government support, describing Imo as a key partner in national progress. He commended Governor Hope Uzodinma, whom he described as a game-changing leader, crediting his administration with restoring discipline, planning, and institutional strength to governance in the state. VP Shetima highlighted Imo's influence in politics, education, culture, and the creative industry, citing its role in African literature, Nollywood, music, and agriculture, particularly palm oil production, as well as a strong educational institutions and high literacy rate. He also pointed to emerging opportunities in oil and gas, agro-processing, tourism, renewable energy, and the digital economy, noting that improved security has helped position Owerri as a major hospitality and commercial hub. Governor Uzodimma stated that Imo State has come of age after 50 years, assuring residents that the next phase will focus on digital transformation, unity, and sustained development.
The progress should help us to arrest the current trend of decline in our national internal security, in national sense of unity, and in a host of other areas, including security. In my experience of how many countries in the 54 member nations of the Commonwealth, which I served for 34 years, is that national elections, constitute a fundamental basis of democracy. And so I was very disappointed to read a couple of days ago that our National Senate, in passing the electoral law, objected to electronic transmission of votes. I could not understand that, and my plea to them is that that decision should be reversed.
76, we came and that we saw, but I leave it to the verdict of history to determine who conquered or who did not. By the grace of God, we have weathered the storm. We have grown substantially from where Governor Kanu managed a budget of 259 million to a government today that has a budget of economic breakthrough totaling 1,439 billion naira. Beyond the leap in numbers, it is also a quantum leap in ambition. At this juncture, permit me to pay special tribute to His Excellency, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu GCFR, whose audacious reforms have fundamentally transformed the physical landscape of our federation.
Affirming that peace, when nurtured, yields prosperity. As we look to the next 50 years, this golden jubilee must serve as a launching pad. Unity must be renewed. Governance must remain humane and disciplined. Politics must return to service. We owe this, above all, to the next generation. And I assure you that you occupy a frontline seat at the national table and a top priority of His Excellency, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And our head boy is right here, Governor Paul Uzodimma. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, allow to return once more to the irrepressible King of Bangui, who captured the spirit of transformation with characteristic clear when he said, when the comb comes to become, the unbecome was become. Indeed, Imo State has come to become with our partnership for the greater good. Happy 50th anniversary, Imo State. God bless Imo. God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I want to acknowledge Governor Okowa. Welcome to the club. And Governor Gabriel Suswan. Why are you, sir? Gabriel.
Many governors will be here to honor him. In the Progressive Governors Forum, Governor Hope is a man that we respect and we revere. And that explains why some of us had to share other state functions to be here today. And I'm listening to K. Bakassi when he was reeling out the contributions of Imo sons and daughters to national development in Nigeria. And the past 50 years has been good for Imo people. There's no doubt about that.
That is what you stand for. You reach across every one of us from the southwestern Nigeria all the way to south-south, all the way to southeast, your domain, all the way to northeast, north central, and northwest. I think Honwa, the drummer, deserves a resounding round of applause. I'm not pleased with all of you here because this man we're talking about, who is the #1 citizen of Imo State, and also by providence, when you are the governor, Imo is 50 years old. Please, please and please give Owa a resounding round of applause.
Very down to earth, and I learned a lot from him. And of course, Meka Helioha, my son, who I met on arrival today. But fast forward to where we are today, Governor Hope Uzodinma is a man of many parts, but let me describe him in a simple way, that he has taken Imo State to Nigeria and the world, and brought Nigeria and the world to Imo State. I can't describe him better than that. He builds bridges all over the place. He makes friends. I don't know that he has, well, I'm close enough to him. He's never said any bad thing about anybody. Even those who are politically opposed to him and those who may have other feelings about him. And I remember on his birthday that his predecessor in office.
The Nigerian Bar Association has urged the National Assembly to pass a proposed amendment to the electoral bill that would compel the electronic transmission of election results from polling units. In a statement shared on X on Saturday, the NBA's National Executive Council said it adopted a report by NBA President Afam Osigwe-San, urging lawmakers to approve the amendment to Clause 60, subsection 3 of the bill. NEC, which met in Maiduguri, Borno State on February 5, 2026, said the report highlighted the urgent need to mandate the electronic transmission of results to strengthen transparency and public confidence in elections. The NBA explained that the amendment would require presiding officers of the Independent National Electoral Commission to transmit results in real time to the INEC result viewing portal immediately after Form EC8A has been duly signed, stamped, and countersigned by party agents. NEC described the Senate's decision to retain the current wording in the Electoral Act, which allows results to be transferred in a manner as prescribed by the Commission, as weakening the legal foundation for transparent elections and leaving room for manipulation and ambiguity. The Council warned that discretionary phrasing in the law undermines democratic accountability and stressed that clear statutory compulsion rather than discretionary wording is essential to guaranteeing electoral transparency, protecting the integrity of votes cast, and restoring public confidence in Nigeria's electoral process. In a related development, the Movement for Credible Elections, MCE, has condemned in very strong terms the decision of the Senate to remove and refuse the mandatory electronic transmission of election results as proposed by the Electoral Act Amendment Bill 2026. The body has called on the Senate to immediately reinstate and pass the mandatory electronic transmission of results in the Electoral Act Amendment Bill 2026, as well as publicly account for those members who opposed this clause, so they do not use the cover of the Senate or House of Representatives to avoid public scrutiny and explanation of their positions to Nigerians. According to MCE, Nigerians must ensure that they are made to account for the use of legislative powers as a system they have benefited from in the last 26 years since Nigeria became a democratic state. Leaders of the steering council of the newly launched MCE include Dr. Usman Bugaji, Professor Pat Utomi, Comrade Ayuba Waba, Dr. Obi Ezekwesili, Barrister Femi Falana-San, Ambassador Nkoyo Toyo, Hajiya Dr. Bilikisu Magoro, Comrade Ene Obi, Comrade Salisu Mohammed, Comrade Bala Zaka, among others. In a statement signed on Saturday in Abuja by MCE Media Coordinator, Comrade James Ezema, the group described the action of the Senate as not lawmaking, but a deliberate democratic sabotage against the aspiration of the people of the country, as mandatory electronic transmission of results is not controversial. According to the group, the transmission process is a minimum safeguard against result tampering, ballot rewriting, and post-election fraud, warning that any legislature that blocks it is openly defending a system that thrives on electoral corruption, stolen mandates, and manufactured elections. Meanwhile, Senate President Godswill Akpabio has said the Senate will not be intimidated but will do what is right to give Nigerians an electoral act that will advance democracy. Akpabio said this during his remarks at the public presentation of the book, The Burden of Legislatures in Nigeria, written by Senator Effiong Bob at the NAF Center, Abuja, on Saturday. He explained that the furore over Section 60, subsection 3 of the Electoral Act was unnecessary because the amendment process was still unraveling and yet to be completed. In a veiled reference to comments made on television by the Chief Executive of the Policy and Legal Advocacy Center, Clement Nwankwo, over the controversy, Akpabio said, and I quote, "We will not be intimidated but do what is right for Nigeria and not that of one NGO, retreats and not lawmaking," end of quote. While explaining what happened during plenary, the Senate President said, and I quote again, "All we said is remove the words real time to allow INEC decide the mode of transmission. If you make it mandatory and there's failure of system, there will be catastrophe," end of quote. Senator Adams Oshomole has hailed the recognition of Nigeria's First Lady, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, by United States President Donald Trump as a major diplomatic victory for Nigeria. Oshomole shared this view after meeting President Bola Tinubu at the presidential villa in Abuja. Adams Oshomole, a former governor of Edo State and chieftain of the All Progressives Congress, APC, said President Donald Trump's public acknowledgement of Nigeria's First Lady has boosted the country's international image. Speaking to State House correspondents on Friday, Oshomole said his visit to the presidential villa was partly to extend New Year greetings to President Bola Tinubu and also to celebrate what he described as Trump's glowing tribute to Senator Oluremi Tinubu. He recalled how the U.S. president, known for his blunt remarks, praised the First Lady during a public event and invited her to stand for recognition. Oshomole said the moment was a source of national pride, noting the applause it generated and suggesting the opposition would have reacted differently if the situation were reversed. The Edo North senator described the gesture as a diplomatic milestone, saying it highlights religious coexistence under President Tinubu's leadership.
I came to greet Mr. President. I have not seen him in 2026, to wish him a happy new year. But also, very importantly, yesterday we saw how the world's most powerful man, President Donald Trump of the United States of America, acknowledging not just the President of Nigeria, First Lady, describing her as a very respectable woman, a very responsible woman, and a pastor of the largest church in Nigeria. And he invited her to stand up for recognition. Now, if you see how some other presidents are even, the kind of language, President Trump is very blunt. So when he uses those kind of words to describe our First Lady, as a Nigerian, I feel proud. And I thought it's important enough for us to say, Mr. President, congratulations. Because if it was the other way around, imagine what the opposition would be saying now. And for Trump to say, Nigeria First Lady is here. He is a Christian, but also a Christian pastor. A woman that commands respect, a responsible and respectable woman.
In a show of unity and prayers for national leadership, an Islamic cleric has invoked blessings for President Bola Tinubu during a high-profile wedding at Abuja's National Mosque. Professor Lukman Zakaria, the officiating imam, prayed for President Tinubu's good health, long life, and success in office, describing him as a father to all and hoping his tenure restores hope to the hopeless. The prayers came during the wedding fatia of 5 daughters and 5 sons of the Minister of State for Defense, Mohammed Bello Matawali. President Tinubu attended on behalf of the family and formally received the brides into the Matawali fold. The star-studded event drew the President of Sao Tome and Principe, state governors, National Assembly members, Federal Executive Council officials, service chiefs, diplomats, traditional rulers, and religious leaders, a moment of faith and celebration amid Nigerians' political circles.
The hopeless people to be hopeful in his tenure. Allah, injunction of Allah, برحمتي يا رب العالمين. اللهم لك التي لا تحصى ولا تعد. اللهم إنا نسألك في هذه الساعة المبارك أن تبارك لنا في هذه الأنكحة. اللهم بارك لهم، اللهم بارك عليهم، واجمع بينهم في خير برحمتك يا رب العالمين. ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين. ربنا هب لنا من أزواجنا وذرياتنا قرة أعين واجعلنا للمتقين إماما. ربنا أفرغ علينا صبرا وثبت أقدامنا وانصرنا على القوم الكافرين. لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك إنا كنا من الظالمين. لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك إنا كنا من الظالمين. لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك إنا كنا من الظالمين. وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا.
In another development, President Bola Tinubu has congratulated the coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Professor Mohammed Ali Pate, and the Vice President for Global Impact at OpenAI, Anna Adeolama Koju, on their inclusion in the DIVEX Power 50 list for 2026. This was contained in a statement issued by the Special Advisor to the President on Information and Strategy, Bayo Ononuga. The statement notes that the 2 Nigerians were named among 50 influential global figures shaping the future of international development. President Tinubu described the recognition as well-deserved, saying their achievement reflects Nigeria's vast talent at home and in the diaspora. The DIVEX Power 50 list highlights Professor Pate for his advocacy on improved healthcare access in Nigeria and reforms in global health systems. while Makoju was recognized for her leadership in artificial intelligence policy, governance, and global outreach at OpenAI. The president urged both honorees to sustain their commitment to excellence and continue contributing to global development. The Presidential Community Engagement Team and the Minister of Defense, retired General Christopher Musa, has resolved to strengthen community-driven approaches to security and peace building nationwide. At a meeting in Abuja, led by the Senior Special Assistant to the President on North Central, Dr. Abiodun Esiet, both sides agreed with the Minister of Defense, General Christopher Musa, to prioritize non-kinetic strategies alongside military operations. Key outcomes include the creation of a joint working team and the planned organization of regional security summits, bringing together government officials and community leaders to address security challenges and enhance grassroots intelligence. A direct communication channel has also been established to improve feedback from communities and ensure clearer communication of government interventions through the engagement of non-state actors, youth empowerment, and tackle root causes of insecurity nationwide. It was further noted that the partnership will further focus on engaging non-state actors, implementing youth-focused programs to discourage criminal activities, and addressing the root causes of insecurity across the country. Other officials present at the meeting included SSAs on community engagement, representing the Northwest, Southeast, North Central, and Southwest regions.
Revenue allocation formula. Very soon we will conclude. We have done everything. We are just about to finish analyzing the data and we'll bring it before you. Remuneration of political office holders is completed. We have submitted through the SGF to Mr. President. We hope that very soon this thing will be transmitted to you so that it becomes law. Of course, your own doesn't require any legislation. It's for ministers and others. So vertical, horizontal revenue sharing formula, we are also on that. We will conclude this year. And then the issue of monitoring of local governments and the state interferences. The commission will establish a local government committee now, just like we used to do before Supreme Court said we were busybodies. But now it's going to come. We will monitor every single local government in Nigeria. I'm glad that Mr. President spoke to the governors. He said, if you don't allow this thing, I will issue an executive order.
So from the look of things, you spent SACA 470 million naira for travels, international travels, even when there was a technical suspension or ban on international travels. Out of 479 million naira, you spent 470 million for international travels. Why I'm worried about this expenditure is that you neglected the comfort of your residential building as against your international travel. Why did you prioritize to travel abroad? Does your job really require you traveling abroad to the extent that you spend 470 million naira traveling when you have a burden of maintenance of your facility? That's number 11, maintenance of office building residential quarters. For 129 million, you spent only 7 million naira for maintenance.
We're talking about revenue. We want to know the sources, what made up that revenue, and what, as against what targets. Because we cannot even see your revenue budget here. You have it, DFA. You have your revenue budget, budget head by budget head. You have it. So you are not prepared. You are not prepared. How can you become before, I mean, I don't want to talk. To submit all other relevant documents tomorrow. Okay? We'll take the Minister of Finance,
On the issue of the distinguished member ban on international travel, yes, we are very aware of it, and as a corporately responsible organization, we are abided by all the stipulation of that directive. So every and all travels that you see that was funded there had either an SGF or head of service approval as required. For instance, as acting MDCU, if I am going to travel, I require that SGF approval.
what do you travel?
In line with.
What do you travel for?
Okay, so I'll give you an example. For the World Bank Spring meeting, in relation to the partial risk guarantee of the federal government of Nigeria that MBET manages, the MIGA, the insurance arm of the World Bank, during the spring meetings require our presence to provide clarification and to engage on their portfolio in Nigeria.
Our budget office, they captured the debt servicing under that particular heading. So we would have to trace back as to why. So it is not part of our normal capital budget. It is actually debt servicing. Yes, that's how it came from budget office. That's how it came classified to us. So we have from the budget office. So we did not. That figure was handed down to us.
The House of Representatives has drilled the acting managing director of Nigerian Bulk Electricity Trading PLC, Johnson Akinowo, over the utilization of 4.099 billion naira accrued from regulatory income in the 2025 fiscal year, raising concerns over what lawmakers described as excessive recurrent spending. Chairman of the House Committee on Finance, James Falike, questioned expenditures including 377 million naira on welfare packages, 470 million naira on international travel and training, 101.8 million naira on management and board retreats, and 1.7 billion naira on personnel cost, as well as the failure to declare revenue generated in December 2025. Lawmakers also queried alleged violations of presidential directive banning overseas travels, demanding documentary approvals for all foreign trips. Responding, Akinowo said all international travels were duly approved by the Secretary to the Government of the Federation or the head of service, citing Nigeria's participation in World Bank meetings as critical to power sector engagements. He explained that NBET's operations are largely funded through regulatory revenues approved by the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, while capital projects rely on appropriations, noting that 60 million naira released for power reforms could not be utilized due to late disbursement. Unsatisfied, the committee suspended consideration of NBET's 2026 budget and demanded full documentation of 2025 expenditures, adjourning the hearing to February 10, 2026, when the Accountant General is expected to appear. The committee also raised red flags over the Ministry of Finance's proposed 14.3 billion naira 2026 budget, with Finance Minister Wale Edu attributing apparent capital expenditure discrepancies to debt service classifications.
We're talking about revenue. We want to know the sources, what made up that revenue, and what, as against what targets. Because we cannot even see your revenue budget here. You have it, DFA. You have your revenue budget, budget head by budget head. You have it. So you are not prepared. You are not prepared. How can you become before, I don't want to talk. To submit all other relevant documents tomorrow. Okay? We'll take the Minister of
Budget Office. They captured the debt servicing under that particular heading. So we would have to trace back as to why. So it is not part of our normal capital budget. It is actually debt servicing. Yes, that's how it came from Budget Office. That's how it came classified to us. So we have from the Budget Office. So we did not. That figure was handed down to us.
The House of Representatives Committee on Specialty Healthcare has urged the federal government to significantly increase funding for specialized hospitals and health institutions to improve service delivery nationwide. Chairman of the committee, Honorable Alex Egbona, made the call in Abuja during the 2026 budget defense session at the National Assembly, lamenting that many institutions were grappling with severe funding shortfalls that had worsened infrastructure deficits, manpower shortages, and lack of critical medical equipment. He stressed that facilities such as orthopedic and psychiatric hospitals, obstetric fistula centers, eye and ear hospitals, and blood transfusion services play a crucial role in managing complex medical cases and catering to vulnerable populations. Egbona assured that the committee would work closely with relevant authorities and the Committee on Appropriations to secure fair and adequate budgetary allocations for the sector. Presenting before the committee, the medical director of the Federal Neuropsychiatric Hospital, Abeokuta, Dr. Agbola Afis, decried the slow implementation of the Mental Health Act, noting that the absence of a functional national mental health framework had limited access to funding and partnerships. Also, the medical director of the National Orthopedic Hospital, Enugu, Professor Emmanuel Iyidobi, highlighted challenges including dilapidated infrastructure, lack of essential equipment, and rising energy cost, appealing to lawmakers to fast-track increased funding to enable specialized hospitals deliver quality healthcare to Nigerians.
Without their effective functioning, the health system cannot deliver optimal outcomes. However, it is evident that many of these specialist hospitals and institutions continue to operate under severe funding constraints. Annual budget provisions are often low and in most cases inadequate to address infrastructural deficits, manpower needs, equipment gaps, and expanding services demand. This largely directly affects service delivery and patients' outcomes. The purpose of today's defense is therefore twofold. First, for the institution to defend the 2026 budget proposal, and second, to account for the implementation of 2025 Appropriation Act, highlighting achievements, if any, challenges, and gaps. The committee is particularly interested in understanding how the list or lack of funding have been utilized or affected performance.
The funding is not enough. It's not enough, of course, and it's an issue that cut across the ministries, parastatals, and agencies in the country. But we want to employ that of course, we know that Nigeria is going through some economic reforms. There's always a period of pains before, light at the end of the tunnel. But we believe that 2026, the light will start appearing in 2026, in which we have total budget implementations Now, the other problem that some of us are having, which is a common problem across psychiatric hospitals, is the high energy cost.
The federal government has issued a series of stern warnings and deadlines to China Harbour Engineering Company and its sister firm, China Harbour Operation and Maintenance Company, over alleged substandard work, slow mobilization, and environmental hazards on key federal road projects across the country. The warnings followed a high-level meeting chaired by the Minister of Works, Senator David Umahi, with top officials of the ministry and representatives of the two Chinese firms at the ministry's headquarters in Abuja. The companies are concessionaries on the Maraba, Kefi, Akwanga, Lafia, Makurdi dual carriageway, and are also handling other strategic road projects, including the Makurdi 9th Mile Enugu Road and the 7th Axle Road in Lagos. In a statement issued by the Director of Information and Public Relations at the ministry, Mohammed Ahmed, Umahi said the meeting was convened to address mounting public complaints, safeguard government investment, and enforce strict contractor accountability under the renewed Hope administration. The minister disclosed that the ministry had received a formal petition from residents along the Makurdi 9th Mile Enugu corridor over excessive dust generated by construction activities, which he said posed serious environmental and public health risk. Umahi directed the permanent secretary to immediately issue a warning letter to the contractor mandating the deployment of soil stabilization and other approved dust control measures. He warned that failure to resolve the issue within the 7 days will result in the suspension of the project. The Nigerian Society of Engineers has reiterated the need for government at all levels to continuously engage local engineers in major engineering projects in order to promote local content development. The national president of NSE, Engineer Ali Masuya Rabiu, made the call while speaking at the NNC Ikeja branch 33rd anniversary Founders and Family Fun Time, urging government to involve relevant professionals in budget planning and project design, and to ensure full implementation of the local content law through increased engagement of indigenous engineers. Engineer Rabiu, who was represented by the Vice President of the Council for the Regulation of Engineering in Nigeria, Engineer Olaolu Ogunduyile, also called on engineering professionals to embrace continuous training and retraining to remain relevant with evolving applications and innovations in the sector. The chairman, NSC Ikeja branch, Engineer Noimot Muili, stressed the importance of sustaining legacies as a strategy to enhance the branch's reputation and visibility through deliberate and strategic initiatives. Engineer Nimot noted that sustaining these legacies would create more opportunities for young and incoming engineers to learn, relearn, and collaborate for professional growth. The President, Association of Consulting Engineers of Nigeria, Engineer Kunle Adebajo, emphasized the need for members to collectively contribute towards sustaining the legacies laid by past and accomplished leaders of the profession. The event provided participants with opportunities to relax, network, and strengthen both professional and personal bonds.
First of all, the value that we need to inculcate is, first of all, to get trained, to get empowered, so that we can be useful to ourselves and the nation. So that training is an empowerment in itself. Create an enabling environment, create job for the people, encourage the farms and the Nigerian citizen, so that we can actually develop our local content.
So one of the things I mentioned in my lecture was that Ikeja branch is not just about the leaders. Success definitely depends on leaders, but the followership is very important. And in Ikeja, we brought that clearly to bear, that everybody puts their own efforts into whatever we do, and will lead to success. And I think the nation should learn from that as well. For the young engineers, profession, to be a good professional, requires a lot of discipline, a lot of sacrifice. So I would like to suggest that the young ones should not just be preoccupied with money, not be preoccupied with position, but to go through the rigors of a profession, because eventually it will pay off.
So the training hall gives the opportunity for collaboration. Two other organizations have expressed interest and were able to collaborate beyond the shores of Nigeria. So the take home today is that sustain legacy, understand your story, know your why and how you want to sustain it, that in the years to come, when you come around also, you will be known for what you put in. So it's an opportunity, and we also create the platform to appreciate each of our farmers should bring more awareness, collaborate to do technical capacity development for the engineers in the ministry, as well as in the private sector, collaborate to give the opportunity so that local engineers have the opportunity to implement our project and we can keep our resources within Nigeria and grow the economy.
For us to be intentional in service. Branches and even the NSC are built by members serving. So I will employ the upcoming engineers, the current people taking strike, to please keep service in view and be timely. You know, the timeliness is very important. We should keep the time in getting to what we want to do and do what we want to do. By so doing, we're able to keep the flag flying and keep the legacy.
I want to encourage every budding engineer out there, take your academics serious, do not joke with it, take every single course you're being taught serious, every single course makes sense. I can sure guarantee you that all the first principles that we're being taught, many might think is just a waste of time. However, if you know how to do things from granular, you're far better off than most of the engineers out there. So believe in yourself. Don't be led down by anyone. Don't be led down by any circumstances. Keep pushing and you probably get to the pinnacle of your career.
You're still watching MITV Primetime News. We'll take a break now and bring you stories from the foreign scene. Please stay with us. Welcome back. A drone attack carried out by the Rapid Support Forces has hit a vehicle transporting displaced families in central Sudan, killing at least 24 people, including 8 children, the Sudan Doctors Network said. The attack on Saturday occurred near the city of Rahad in North Kofoden province, the medical monitoring group reported, adding that the passengers had fled fighting in the Dubeker area. Among the children killed were 2 infants, the network said in a statement posted on X. The latest attack follows a serious drone attack on humanitarian aid convoys and fuel trucks across North Kordofan, which on Friday killed at least 1 person and wounded several others. The North Kordofan state government condemned Friday's attacks on a convoy linked to the World Food Programme, urging the international community and United Nations bodies to impose sanctions on the RSF paramilitary group's leadership. The attacks occurred along the key road connecting the state capital, El Obeid, with Kosti in neighboring White Nile state. Fighting between the government-aligned Sudanese armed forces and the RSF has intensified across the Kordofan region since October 2025, after El Fasher fell to the RSF, where the group committed atrocities, a crime scene, according to the UN. According to the UN Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, the first attack at dawn hit 3 trucks in El Rahad. United States forces have transported a 3rd group of ISIL detainees from Wairan prison in Syria's Hasaka province to Iraq by land, as activity around a U.S. military base in the region points to possible operational changes. The transfer on Saturday forms part of a trilateral arrangement which has emerged as part of a painstaking ceasefire after deadly clashes involving the Syrian government and the Syrian Democratic Forces, under which detainees held in northeastern Syria have been relocated to Iraqi custody. U.S. forces are the third party to that agreement. Earlier, U.S. Central Command confirmed the start of a broader operation to move detainees from facilities across the region, with officials outlining a plan to transfer about 7,000 prisoners. Iraq has launched investigation into ISIL detainees from Syria over atrocities committed against its citizens. Security developments in northeastern Syria have accelerated in recent weeks in the wake of government forces sweeping across the north and SDF retreats. On Saturday, SDF Governor-designate Noor Edian Ahmad met with a Damascus delegation at the Hasaka government building before a Syrian national flag-raising ceremony. The meeting carries political significance as the agreement between Damascus and the SDF allows the group to nominate the governor of Hasaka, with Ahmad expected to be formally appointed by the Syrian government. We'll take another break to bring you sport news. Welcome back. Arsenal moved ever closer to a first Premier League title for 22 years as a 3-0 win over Sunderland took the Gunners 9 points clear at the top of the table. Martin Zubimendi's long-range drive just before halftime settled the nerves of the home crowd at the Emirates Stadium before Victor Gyökeres struck twice to quieten his critics. Manchester City can reduce the gap at the top back to 6 points should they end the wait since 2003 to beat Liverpool at Anfield in front of a crowd on Sunday. But after 3 consecutive second-placed finishes, it appears a matter of when, not if, Mikel Arteta's men will finally be crowned champions. The feat dented Sunderland's dream of European football on their first season back in the top flight. Regis Debris' side showed why they sit 8th with a dogged first-half showing that left the Arsenal crowd again bemoaning a lack of creativity from open play. Gyökeres has attracted plenty of criticism for failing to replicate his free-scoring form at Sporting Lisbon in the Premier League. But the Sweden international is the club's top scorer and took his tally for the season to 13 in all competitions. Manchester United profited from Tottenham captain Christian Romero's red card to stretch their perfect start under Michael Carrick to 4 games with a 2-0 win at Old Trafford in the Premier League. Goals from Brian Mbeumo and Bruno Fernandes on Saturday ended an 8-game winless run against Spurs for the Red Devils, who cemented their position in the Premier League's top 4. United close to within 2 points of third-placed Aston Villa and open up a 5-point cushion over Liverpool in 6th. A place in the top 5 is likely to secure a spot in next season's Champions League due to the strong performance of English sides in European competition. Spurs' hopes of qualifying for the Champions League through their league position have long since disappeared, as another damaging defeat for Thomas Frank leaves Tottenham in 14th, but there could be lasting consequences for Romero after his ill discipline cost his side just days after a social media outburst aimed at club's hierarchy. Romero's future as keeper had already been called into question, and the 27-year-old will now be suspended for 4 matches after his second red card of the season and 6th of his Spurs career, the centre-back lunged in to catch Casemiro on the ankle on 29 minutes after playing himself into trouble just